At the beginning of the film recap, we are shown a couple who had a baby a few days ago. But for some reason they were both scared and afraid and were breaking all the mirrors of their house. The child's mother puts her child in the swing and goes out to work. We then see a strange scene. A small monster emerges from the swing and lightly cuts the child's spine. This causes him to bleed. On the other hand, when the child's father goes to break the last glass, he couldn't because the witch came out and finished him off. When the child's mother returns, she is horrified to see that her child is also dead. His body was blue, making it look like he had been dead for a long time. Now the witch is disappearing because she came suddenly and was hard to understand. Anyway, after some time we again see a couple who also had a baby a while ago. The woman in them was named Rachel and they came to live in a new place. They were just keeping their luggage that at this moment a package was coming for them. This was sent by Rachel's mother with some boxes and toys that were from Rachel's sister and her daughter. Rachel's sister was none other than the same woman we saw at the beginning. And everything that happened to her daughter and husband means that they were killed by a witch and a monster. Now we know what happened to them, but why? We will get the answer to this question later in the story. Rachel is not happy to see this because she thinks my mother sent old stuff for my baby. And the toy of the child who is dead, on which her husband says that what happened to your sister was an accident. Now it would be better if we didn't make a fool of these things. Among these things was also a book in which some lines were written in another language. There were some pictures and a melody was also being made. Now Rachel didn't understand the language, but her husband knew a little. So he checks the book and says these lines and tunes are lullabies, a lullaby. Now Rachel starts humming, but the call shuts her up and closes her book. A few days pass and their baby always cries like other babies and doesn't sleep. Therefore, both of them were worried, not only worried, but also tired of the fact that raising children is not easy. They both took time off work to care for their child. Now Rachel was a businesswoman while her husband was an artist. Today she has an art exhibition. It was exhibited, that's why her husband goes to work. Rachel takes care of him alone. She tries to calm him down by quieting him down, but he isn't sleeping. Then when she was removing the sheet from him, she was given the same book in which the lullaby was written. Now that Rachel is humming it, her baby is sleeping very comfortably. But at the same time we see cracks in the glass of the house, which was strange. When her husband comes home from work at night, Rachel tells him that I sang the baby a lullaby and he slept very comfortably, with which he also becomes happy. After that, they both go to sleep with the children's screen that was kept in their children's room, where suddenly a witch comes out of the swing and starts coming towards her. Rachel senses that someone is in the child's room, so she immediately goes to his room. But no one is there. The cabinet door was open. After checking, there is nothing in it. When Rachel looks at the baby's screen, she thinks it might be broken, so she throws it in the trash. As she walked out, she felt movement everywhere. He checks the whole house but finds nothing. And then when she was looking at herself in the mirror, we can also see the witch behind her spying on her. But Rachel doesn't see her. Besides, there are more cracks on that broken glass. While her husband was bathing, Rachel came to him. But he still sees the same witch in the mirror, which scares him a lot and pushes her aside. Rachel was upset about it. He then goes to get a new baby screen where he suddenly sees darkness. Along with that, the witch who scared her, Rachel, is afraid to see her. Means there must have been some strange things in their house, which happened not only at home, but also outside. Now the witch watched over Rachel and her child from inside the mirror, and the cracks on her were also increasing. Now Rachel could hear her crying from the nursery. But surprisingly she was with her, so he goes to check his room, where another child was crying in the swing. When she removed the blanket, there was no child, only a toy. She was afraid of all these things and the doors around her were also opening and closing by themselves. So he comes out of the house and sits down. When her husband comes home, she also tells him that I am afraid. Maybe someone is inside the house. So now he goes in with the rod and starts checking. But he doesn't see anyone there either. But in a hurry, his Paro climbs out of the cage and starts flying there. And he accidentally kills that parrot. Now this parrot was with him since childhood, so he was sad. Then Rachel comes in, takes care of him and says maybe it's all my fault. I'm as crazy as my sister right now. At which he explains to her that you can't do that. Your sister has gone completely insane covering up her child's body for weeks. You're not like her at all, so don't worry. Now he says I see a woman as a witch that scares me. Her husband shows Rachel the woman in the same book on it and asks, is that the same woman? Because I saw it too when I was taking a bath. And this woman in the book was none other than the same witch. So both come in great tension, but somehow they decide to take care of themselves. That whatever it is, we can get through it together. And together we will finish it. Now at night, Rachel's husband hears their baby crying outside as he slept with them. So she wakes up in her sleep and goes to comfort her child, and goes out of the house to the place where they threw the book. There was actually a sound of crying coming from this book to call them to it. And now her husband returns with a book. While Rachel was sleeping in the morning, she also had her child, who suddenly disappeared. A child's voice came from inside the sheet. Therefore, she starts looking for her child inside, where she finds her child, but dead. She was scared when in reality her baby was perfectly fine. When he sees it, he's fine. The next day her husband takes his child and leaves because Rachel had to go to some important work today. Rachel's husband now goes to church where he meets the priest. While on the other side we see Rachel going to the mental hospital where her sister was. Rachel's husband tells the priest all about what he had to face, and asks an exorcist who is an expert in controlling spirits so he can get some help. When he heard all this, the priest told him that this was exactly what Rachel's sister had come to ask. And now she begins to tell him about it while looking at the book. There Rachel also tells everything to her sister. When he hears this, he says, "Did you sing that lullaby?" To which Rachel replies yes. When her sister heard this, she got scared and said that I locked all those things so that no one could get them. But it happened to you. You also sang the lullaby, so now it's going to be very bad. Now Rachel's sister and the priest start talking about the book. The story of the witch and the lullaby will be revealed. Now as we know, that before the world was created, God first created Adam and Eve, but many people say that before them God created a woman named Lilith who was very beautiful. And Adam made a strange kind of lullaby that Lilith always used to go to him. Lilith wanted to live with him, but she didn't want to live with him because of Eve. And because of this mistake, Lilith was taken from that place and left in the forest. After that, she wandered in the forest and the wolves began to live with the wolves. After him, she gave birth to a deformed child that did not look human in any way. She was not normal because she was only a small human, the rest were like a wolf. Now when the children of Adam and Eve were born, because they were human and beautiful, Lilith was jealous of their children. That's why she started stealing their children. After it, it goes from generation to generation. And in this generation there was no special kind of child, but there were the children of the whole human generation, who were born of Adam and Eve. Because of this, Adam prayed to God and threw her into the forest. As for the lullaby, this word came to the rescue from Lilith. It means that it was a kind of lullaby that kept children away from Lilith. By singing a normal lullaby, the mother saved her children from Lilith, but because she was clever. That's why she played here. She took Adam's special lullaby and made some changes to it. When she reads it, she wakes up again. She'll be back, and that's why she still manages to take kids because of this lullaby. When someone sings it, her sister says, "I can save your baby. Just get me out of here," and Rachel agrees. There, Rachel's husband asks for the help of the priest, whom he says are just stories. It's a fake story. It's not true, so I won't be able to help you, and you can relax too. But her husband leaves in a rage. When he got home, he found that all the latches in the bathroom were open and water was pouring out of them. He leaves his child in the room and goes to the washroom to close it, but the door suddenly closes. His child meanwhile was alone. The monster child comes to him who was Lilith's child. And in the beginning, the baby monster we saw at the swing that cut off the baby's head was also a Lilith baby, because he didn't like human babies either and broke the glass jar in front of Rachel's baby. Due to this, a lot of glass breaks in front of the child and could be injured at any time. On the other hand, husband Rachel spots Lilith in the bathroom. The kid was about to hurt his hand with a piece of glass when Rachel came in and stopped him. Her sister was with her. Seeing her, her husband asks, "Why did you bring her here?" To that she said she could help us, but because he thought she was crazy, he didn't like it. Rachel's sister says that Lilith first took my child and then killed my husband as well. So now we have to save your child. Keep an eye on her at all times and keep the jar covered. And whenever we see Lilith, we run away immediately, because she watches over him through the glass and keeps coming from there, because that's her way of coming here from her world. A man comes to Rachel's husband's house and tells him that I am a senior priest. I got your book and the priest you went to said you need help. So immediately come to the house address you said and he will do the same. And immediately leaves for that house. Now Rachel and her sister were taking care of the baby at home. When Rachel tells her that I don't think I can be a good mother. Hearing this, her sister told her not to think like that. Lilith put it all in your mind. This is her plan, because he wants to break your trust. After that, he will easily take your child from you, so you have to be brave and believe. Rachel's husband arrives at the address and is met by a high priest who checks the book and tells him that someone sang a lullaby written in it, to which he says, "Yes, my wife Rachel sang." In response, the priest says that this is why your child is now in Lilith's sight. So first you have to save your child from Lilith, and yes, she doesn't come right out and take the child. He won't kill him. In fact, her process is like a ritual spell. By completing it, he can address the child. This ritual has 3 steps. When she is finished, the doors of this world open and she comes. The first step was to sing that lullaby. The second is to spill the blood of an animal, a bird in the house, to which Rachel's husband immediately says that yes, my parrot has shed blood, he is dead. Which meant that there was now the final third step to complete the ritual, which was to spill the drops of her child's blood. When this happens, Lilith comes to take him, meaning that Lilith could have taken the child that was cut for his bloodshed. And no one else does all this, but Lilith's children do. They also broke the glass jar in front of Rachel's baby so that when his blood flows and the ritual is complete, Lilith comes and takes him. Now the priest gives him a special kind of candles and a prayer. He also says that you must read this prayer with full faith because Lilith is very powerful, but not before faith. After that, her husband leaves from there while the priest takes his book with him because this book is dangerous to the world. There, Lilith's child was approaching Rachel's child to cut it lightly, but then Rachel's eyes opened, so he lifts the child on his lap. Now Rachel's sister comes to her. She says take some refills, then I will take care of it, but we don't like her sister's intentions here, because she's taking the fabric off the glass, which she shouldn't have done. He also sticks a needle into the child, from which his blood flows. He then starts singing a lullaby. Rachel is very surprised to hear this and asks her why are you doing this? To which her sister says that my child is still alive who is with Lilith in the other world and I want to bring him back. When Lilith comes, she will take your child and return my child to me. And yes, I sent you that book. Since your child was born, I have been waiting for this time. Which made it clear that her sister had become her enemy. That was also jealousy. She was very angry when she saw this form of her sister, that's why she attacks her. They fought. Meanwhile, Lilith comes and takes Rachel's baby with her. Behind Rachel comes her sister. He reaches for her in a bottle and takes her, which actually brought her to Lilith's world. As her husband was returning home, Lilith attacks him as well, but somehow saves himself. When he walks in, he sees Rachel in the mirror, who disappears the next moment. So he burns all the candles and starts checking all the mirrors. In Lilith's world, her daughter attacks Rachel, but she saves herself from him. When her sister comes to her and says call your daughter with full confidence because that will allow us to find her, and we will be able to save both children. Now, when Rachel accepts her child's name, she also begins to hear his voice, which she begins to follow. Lilith then comes to attack Rachel's husband and extinguishes the candles as well, but when she begins to pray, with full confidence, those candles go out again, causing Lilith to leave. There, Rachel goes into a room where she also finds her baby, but then Lilith comes and attacks her while her baby snaps. Her sister also came, who attacks Lilith, takes the child and gives it to Rachel. He asks her to get out of there and starts to stop Lilith, but Lilith kills her as well. As Rachel ran, all the mirrors start to shatter, but to save herself, Rachel started running even faster. Here her husband's voice of prayer helped her, and before that the mirror of her house also broke. Already cross it and come back. Now Lilith also starts coming out of the mirror to attack her, but now they are both together. Start repeating the prayer and prevent her from coming into this world. After that everything seems to be calm. Everything was fine, but that didn't happen because Rachel's sister changed her baby to her baby, which means that the baby that Rachel saved was not hers but belonged to her sister, and when she checks the baby, it was really her sister's child, while her own child was still with her in Lilith's world, which made her sad. Here her sister's goal was fulfilled because she just wanted to save her child, but she really went crazy. She was undoubtedly a mother, but she did not remember that her sister was also the child's mother. We then see that Rachel's husband stole the book and brought it to Rachel, because now they want to bring back their child and they wanted to go to Lilith's world. But now they face not only Lilith, but someone else as well. The new witch who will be none other than Sister Rachel. Now Rachel's had a baby, which meant that now things were going to be worse than before and dangerous too. This is a terrible ending to the story recap.